we're going to hang tight. Going to the title screen, and we are rolling. Paralyzed by fear, I'm clutching you so tight, afraid to lose. I retreat more each night. Where is my voice? I've muted myself, and in my shyness, it's you I repel. I will find my way to express my voice. I must find my way to ignite my spark. Find my way to me, so we can be we. Find my way. The fractures between us rise into view. I cling to the scraps of the care that falls through. Where is my strength? I've crumbled apart, hiding from the truth. I've shattered my heart, but I will find my way to regain my strength. I must find my way to restore my will. Find a way to me, so we can be we. Find my way. Here is this moment to take a chance, to go on alone or grow and advance. I will find my way to express my voice. I must find my way to ignite my spark. Find my way to me, so we can be we. Find my way. I will find my way to regain my strength. I must find my way to restore my will. Find my way to me, so we can be we. Find my way. Find my way. I'll find my way. Happy Sunday, everybody. Thank you for finding your way to Sunday Live with me, Caleb. It is a cool evening here in Seattle, and we are marching into a lockdown. It was announced this morning, so I guess I don't have to go to the gym this week. Yay! Gives me more time in the studio working on songs and prepping shows and all the other fun stuff. I hope you guys are doing well out there. You're staying safe, doing what you can. And today we have a guest who not only does music videos, live videos, but will be doing some live performances. But first, as always, I want to bring on my sidekick, Joe Price. Hey, Joe, you out there?
People of Earth, greetings. How's it going?
It's going good. How's it going out there in the SF Bay Area?
Pretty good. It rained heavily Friday, and I was caught out on I finished a vacation week, and I was trying to be discreet about it. Went all over the place by myself, isolated well at my destinations, and got back early. So it's a couple of rainy day bicycle rides, a couple of sunny day bicycle rides, and getting it in under getting in right between rainstorms because we're going to have another rainstorm early this coming week. Staying busy, staying active, staying sane mostly, and wrapping it up here and now with you.
Cool. Well, I love watching your journeys on Facebook. Folks, you should all stalk Joe. He has great posts about traveling around on his motorcycle, and not only in the San Francisco Bay Area, but throughout California. And and these very, well, I'm trying to find the right word. I was about to say pithy. I'm not sure pithy is the right word, but the insights about his travels, and I think he paints very well with words, the visuals. When I think about visually experiences I've had traveling, I read Joe's words and I go, he's describing what I can't describe in words. So anyhow, check him out. Well, I'm glad you're back. You're safe. You're doing okay out there. Is California going into a lockdown like we are?
I think so. There's some counties in California that are worse than others. San Francisco, ironically, seems to be doing quite well. Alameda's on the borderline, and I just, and wherever I went, you could see the beginnings of what might be a lockdown. Monday, I had lunch in Mendocino with a friend of mine. We went up there on motorcycles, and it seemed very, like cautious optimism, but preparing for the worst. Dining outside, in patios and sidewalks. And then we split back to the Bay Area. We came and went to Mendocino back and forth all in one day. Bodega Bay was similar. Point Reyes Station was similar, and Berkeley certainly is. Everybody's out on the sidewalk dining. There's very limited seating, but that may change any day. Alameda is on the borderline. San Francisco is the other one that's looking pretty good right now.
Mm.
The other counties aren't faring so well. So we got to hunker down and show a little discipline so we can get past this and act like normal folks again.
And we'd all been warned last year that winter is going to be the hardest, most likely. So I sort of expected this and expected that winter would be a time in which I want to bulk order my special ramen and stock up the shelves. Did you ever read a story as a kid called The Grasshopper and the Ant?
No.
I don't know if it was my mother that bought me that record, but it was like these little records, like 7-inch records. I think you played them at 33, played them slow. And it would have a book that you would look through the book as you listened to the record. And it'd be like little ping to change the page.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all about a musician who's a grasshopper and his buddy Andy the Ant. And the ants are all working all summer long, storing food for the long winter, etc. And Hop, the grasshopper, he's just playing songs, having a grand old time, and life is good. And, well, you can kind of see where the story's going. So I'm very thankful for reading that story as a child because it set that framework in my mind. And when they say, oh, gyms are closing next week, I'm like, okay, I got my stock of ramen. I'm going to be good. I got my, bulk can of almonds and canned goods and whatnot. But I know for a lot of folks, they didn't have that record when they were a kid.
You're a multimedia.
Oh, that's a great. I always trace my multimedia background back to seeing Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where the guy's playing the keyboard and the lights are happening. But yeah, it's a good point. Those little books, that was early multimedia, right? You're reading the comic, and the record has an audio cue, so that we'd call maybe a hyperlink today between the audio and the visual. Yeah. Huh. I hadn't thought about that. And, another one that did something similar was Neil Diamond. My dad had an album called Taproot Manuscript. That was a big influence on me. The front side was just, singles and whatnot, but the back side was a concept album. And there was a booklet that you went along with, and it conveyed the history of African music and rock.
From Neil Diamond, you say?
Yeah. I know last week we talked about Steve Wonder's Secret Life of Plants, which another concept album. I loved concept albums as a kid, so I guess yeah. So I was a multimedia child from day one.
Even then, see, we think we invent something and it's been happening all around us.
The whole argument of nature versus nurture, right? So
Yeah, even synthesizers have been around longer than we think. People like Wendy Carlos, the Beatles, even the Monkees experimenting with synthesized sound back in the late 60s.
the monkey is an interesting one because I always just wrote them off as, oh, they were 60s, fake band. And then in high school or early college, a friend of mine said, no, you got to watch this Jack Nicholson film. I said, Jack Nicholson? And like, oh yeah, it's a Jack Nicholson film of the Monkees. And I'm like, okay, you've got me. It's the Monkees, this band that's supposed to be like kind of fake pop band for a TV show, and Jack Nicholson made a movie of them? That, what?
I think it's called Head.
That it is. And it's one of those unique late 60s products.
That was a very tricked out song. The song, the Porpoise song, was featured in Vanilla Sky with Tom Cruise. Believe it or not. Right before Doot Doot's Fruit by Fur was the Porpoise song by the Monkees, featured in Vanilla Sky as part of the soundtrack.
You never know what's going to happen when you're being creative and putting work out into the world, and and how that's going to be reused. I'm helping some bands locally here try to sort out royalties, and there's a whole new piece coming called the MLC in January that in the United States is going to start paying the mechanical licenses royalties, which I should explain in a moment. There's performance rights and there's mechanical rights. Think of mechanical rights as the right to, make and sell albums, and performance right is the right to perform a piece of music. So right now, Spotify, Apple Music, all these streaming services are only paying one of those. They're only paying the performance royalties. So the mechanical royalties are not going to songwriters today. But starting in January 1st, this new organization that's been legislated in the United States will start collecting and distributing that money. So if you're making $2 a month on your Spotify streams today, you're going to be making $4 very soon.
Right on. Only in America.
Well, speaking of only in America, we do have a guest this week, and we're all in the United States, so it's only in America. By the way, I do think we should, we've only had one guest outside the United States. I think we should get another guest outside the United States at some point, maybe early into next year. There might be enough people in Europe going stir crazy with COVID that they'll be lining up. Anyhow, this week, our guest is Amy Obenski, singer, musician, and performer. Hey, Amy, you out there?
Oh, hey, I'm here.
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Let's be, trying to stay warm here. We're so spoiled in San Francisco.
I was going to say, you moved to Seattle too?
Yeah.
I'm in I just completed year 1 here, and I'm warm yesterday because I had thermals, jeans, t-shirt, waffle shirt, hoodie. And then when I went outside, I put a 4th layer on. It was like 39 degrees.
Mm.
And I'm just like, oh, I'm from California. I can't handle this.
Yeah.
Amy, are you in San Francisco right now?
I am, yeah. I'm in the neighborhood of Bernal Heights.
Yes, I'm over in the Berkeley Hills, right across the way. It
Nice.
was just a very spectacular sunset, and now the temperature is going to plummet.
Yeah, it's been getting a little chilly, but not like Seattle right now.
Oh,
And my wife loves snow, loves Christmas, and grew up on Long Island. And so she can handle it. she's got, she's been in California half her life, but lived in San Francisco, which is a cooler climate. But I grew up in San Jose, so yeah, my skin is thinner. So she's always teasing me about it. But we're looking forward to maybe definitely going to get snow again this year. I don't think. Hopefully, we don't get snowmageddon, but I guess it doesn't really matter in times like these if we get snowed in.
Benefits.
It'll be like, yeah, I can go out anyhow. Oh, another reason not to go to the gym. So, I got introduced to you through Stefan of Balanced Breakfast. Is that correct?
Me? I actually don't know. To be honest, I got a message from you, and I don't know if you explained where you.
I am online like
"Hi."
constantly, and I'm connecting with so many people. I just lose track of how I've. When this show first started, it was like, hey, friends, want to be on my show? A couple of old friends, and as it built up, it started being like friends of friends of friends who found out about the show, or I found out about them through friends. So most people are either coming through Joe himself, Stefan Aronson, or Tim Lahane. So I'm assuming it's through Balanced Breakfast.
Mm-hmm. Possible.
And how long have you been doing music?
Doing music. I have. I started music as early as I possibly could. So, I started singing like, I don't know, songs from Annie when I was like 4 or something. And so as far as like how long I've been playing music, it's been since I was like about 5 years old. But as far as performing like my own songs and stuff like that, it's been quite a while now. It's actually been probably like 17 years of that. When I first played like an open mic and or a coffee shop gig, and, was super excited about it. From that point till now. So yeah,
I'm looking forward to doing that someday.
to do to playing in a coffee shop or yeah, no, me too.
No, yeah. I just realized I was listening to you. I'm like, yeah, I still haven't done that, have I? My background, I started young too, but it's been a total shotgun journey of, and I'm like, I haven't actually, I played in like some bars or clubs, always like, a group of people together. I got to play one show here in Seattle before it got shut down, at Tim's Tavern, and a guy I had met in town, he wanted to open for me, so he booked the gig and he got the opener for him, and so we did this 3-header thing, and probably about 50 people showed up because everybody was pretty much at that point pretty nervous about going out, and that was it. That was my big Seattle show. We had another one lined up in a big venue called the Skylark, and nope, COVID.
Yeah,
So-
I had a couple shows right as it was like we're going into lockdown. I was like, what do I do? What do I do? Do I do the show? Do I not? It's a very kind of a stressful thing because it was going. I was going to be driving quite a bit with 2 shows, and anyway, had to figure it out. I did one of them. The other one got canceled. So
Okay, so something similar, and so you only had a couple shows out. I've talked to some guests, and they're like, "Yeah, I had like 6 months of shows canceled."
Well, I was actually planning to be playing in the South and Nashville area like in August or June. I don't remember anymore. It was June. It was going to be June. I was working on scheduling a tour, and that just didn't happen. So so that all got canceled, but it wasn't completely planned yet. So yeah, I've played actually 2 shows in the last month. I played outside in Petaluma. It's getting colder now, so it's a little little less comfortable to be playing outside, but it's what we have.
So what was that like to, kind of go through what, at least 6 to 9 months of lockdown to actually play on a live stage again?
Well, the weirdest part for me was actually like packing up my gear again. Um, at home, I got so comfortable here with my live streaming and everything here and not having to go anywhere to perform, where I was like, what do I need to bring again? Oh, I have to bring my whole PA and all my cables and my instruments and the load in the car. And I'm like, I used to do this every time. Oh, so much stuff. Carrying my stuff back and forth. I was like, wow, I did a lot. But the playing on stage part felt natural and was fine. That was good.
And how was the audience set up? Are there like chairs 6 feet apart in the room, or?
Well, this is it's a big courtyard, and there's there's like a wine bar and a restaurant, and they have outdoor seating, and they put like a canopy really far away from the outdoor diners where the music lives. And so they're doing whatever they're doing. I think they're mostly 6 feet apart. But they're dining, so they didn't have their masks on and stuff, and it's outside. But I was like, as long as I'm really far away from them, I'm fine with doing this gig, because I can't sing with a mask on. I was taking it off, and I set up a little barricade for myself, because in the beginning, people started to like walk through my area, and I was like, okay, this is not gonna work. So I set things up so that people couldn't walk through, and then I was like, I'm all protected, take my mask off. So
Yeah,
it was fun.
that's interesting. I've encountered that whole, like, where you're setting up a space and people just start walking over your cables and through your space, and you're like, do you not see that there's musician space here?
Yeah, it's funny.
So
Whatever.
with one of my bands, we just carried a roll of caution tape, and we just run the caution tape around, mic stand and whatnot to block out the area.
Just tell them it's a stage they're going through.
Oh, ouch.
Sorry.
All right. I tell everybody about the wisdom of Joe Price and how sort of sublime he is, and he hits us with that joke. Well, enough chatting. I want to show some folks your music, Amy. So this is a music video for the song Home.
It's a crime in the rain when you feel the same as anyone, but you think you're all alone. It's a life you can lead, carrying the weight upon your shoulders, so you think all hope is gone. But we're all the same. We all feel pain, and somehow the rain calms us down and leads us home. You can fight for your life and feel your way to freedom. You can make it how you like. And the days when the pain hits, freeze and wait for this to be over, or get up and dance with it. But we're all the same. We all feel pain, and somehow the rain calms us down us home. We choose to love in our own way, learning to lead with our hands. Our fairy tale becomes a story when I let go of my plans. But we're all the same. We all feel pain. Somehow the rain calms us down and leads us home. Your face in the morning was a beautiful creation. Sunrise on your skin. We live with our choices, with the fear and doubt and questions. Do we find our joy again? But we're all the same. We all feel pain. Somehow the rain calms us down and leads us home. But we're all the same. We all feel pain. Somehow the rain calms us down and leads us home. Yeah, we're all the same. We all feel pain. And somehow the rain calms us down and leads us home. And somehow the rain calms us down and leads us home.
That was Home by Amy Obenski. You have a simple name, and yet somehow I pause. I was talking to Amy earlier about all the weird technical stuff that every week we have. And during that last song, Facebook on my iPhone, no audio. So I thought, maybe the audio stopped again. YouTube on the iPhone, fine. Twitch, fine on the browser. I texted folks. They said it's fine. So we're going to assume everything's working. It's just Facebook iPhone app is... Do know, folks, if you ever have a problem with one of the channels, just switch to another channel. YouTube is the official Caleb channel, has it. And if you like Twitch, it's the Audio Terrorist official channel there. So tell me a little bit about how that song came about and what you're doing there, because what you're doing there isn't like the average bear.
Yeah, well, I'll talk about the song first. I was in San Francisco on like a Sunday, and I was having one of those days where I had no plans, and I thought, I have this whole day wide open. It's great. But at the same time, I was feeling like I should have plans. Like I was just feeling a little bit lonely. This was way before the pandemic, right? When people had plans. Anyway, so I was feeling a little lonely, and I thought about, how I'm in this big city with all these people, and somehow I'm feeling this way. And I was wondering about how many other people in this big city are feeling the same way I am. We're all feeling lonely, but we're all surrounded by each other. So that was how the idea of the song came. It was really just thinking about how we can all connect through our struggles and that's the story of that song. The looping, what you're hearing is what I'm gonna do later, actually, which is I have a looper by my feet, and what that is a device that where I push buttons with my feet, and I can record myself as I go, and then I play it back, kind of in an endless amount. So you can hear. I'm basically doing everything. You can hear all the different parts. And it's not pre-recorded or anything. It's all done here on the spot. So sometimes it's a little bit like being a DJ, but I create the tracks live as I go, and then I have to mix it together. So it's a lot of thinking.
So you are a one-person band.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You're playing all the instruments, and you're layering it. Now, I know what looping is, but describe for us looping.
Well, basically, I can. I have three. I'll describe it a little bit better. So I have three pedals by my feet. I can record three different parts, basically. But then on each part, I can record an endless amount. I haven't reached my limit yet. So I can, record, say, a percussion part that goes through the whole song. And then I can record the chorus once. And then when I come back to the chorus, I press play and the chorus plays again, but now I can play on top of what I did last time. And it's kind of that happens in an endless amount. I could keep going, but
How do you decide the song is done?
I think there's usually what happens with my songs is it doesn't really start developing until the end, where it gets really big, but with the looper. But yeah, I decide it's done when I'm like, okay, enough already. Like the song doesn't really need more going on. If I add more, it's just going to be noise. So,
Do you ever feel the vibe of a room and like, okay, they're grooving on this little part, I should extend that or bring that in?
Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes I've learned like certain parts I should let play for a while, even if it feels like I'm not doing much at that point. Because if you record things on the spot, at some point you bring it back. And sometimes I'll press play and I'm like, okay, I'm not really playing anything right now, but people really want to hear this. So it's sometimes I let the looper fill in the blanks, but people really like that, and it's part of the performance. So it took me a while to get used to the idea of first hearing my voice and having other people hear my voice, but me not singing, performing, because the looper will play what I just recorded.
Yeah.
So that it took me some getting used to. Like, is this okay? And also always feeling like I need to look like I'm playing something when I just recorded it, so I don't actually have to play anything. So it's weird. It's definitely taken some getting used to.
That's definitely a case where you have to like say everybody's grooving on this beat like a drum machine beat, and I need to let them enjoy that before taking them somewhere else. That's got to be tough as a musician. You're like, okay, I want to start playing and performing now, and to just lay back and say, yeah, no, we're gonna ride with this.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never had a performance where I've had some backing tracks where I had like processed vocals, but I've never had like a lead vocal coming out during a show of me when not singing. That would definitely be like a very odd thing you'd have to get used to.
Yeah. It's weird, and I think it definitely gets people's attention too. Like in a live gig kind of situation, all of a sudden they hear your voice, but you're either singing something else or you're not singing at all, and they're like, people just start to look like, what's happening?
Where's that person? Where's that backup singer? Are they...
Voice, but her mouth isn't moving. I'm so confused.
Well, speaking of live performance, you're going to do a live performance right now and put everything you've just taught us into play so we can actually see what that's like. What is this track called?
Oh, I'm going to play a song called In Each Other's Arms. That's another song I wrote.
Cool.
Get my headphone out. Met the other day, and I didn't know your name, so I asked you, and that's when you looked at me, and that smile lit up your face like a warm embrace, and I felt you moving toward me. Let's stay in each other's arms. Let's stay in each other's arms. Let's stay in each other's arms till the world tears us apart. Till the world tears us apart. Other's arms till the world tears us apart. Let's stay in each other's arms. Let's stay in each other's arms. Let's stay in each other's arms till the world tears us apart. Let's stay in each other's arms. Let's stay in each other's arms. Let's stay in each other's arms till the world tears us apart. Let's stay in each other's arms. Let's stay in each other's arms. Let's stay in each other's arms. other's arms till the world tears us apart. Till the world tears us apart.
Woo!
Outstanding. Outstanding.
Oh, thank you. I had to put my other headphones on to hear any clapping, or I was hoping there might be clapping when I came back.
It just strikes me when I started doing this show, people would finish performing. I'm like, it sounds so weird to just be like me clapping, just me and Joe clapping. But it also sounded even more weird just to be sitting here in silence after the artist played.
I actually thought about, getting like a little clapping track because I do a live stream on Sundays, just to have like an audience be like, that's the crowd. But, something.
Well, they do that with my wife's downstairs watching what I call her man game. She's a football fan. So they did that. They pipe in the audio.
That's fun.
Because they're like, no, we can't play games in silence. So they just pump in all this crowd cheering through the loudspeaker. So why can't we as musicians do that as well?
Yeah, I could.
Now, I can remember the moment that I decided to buy a drum machine. And it was the moment that I realized I was tired of coordinating with my band drummer on a Sunday to practice and him saying, oh man, I drank too much with my buddies last night. Or just simply that being self-evident the next day, I've got a hangover. Oh, this is my girlfriend. She really wants my time now. After a year of that, I just went, I'm getting a drum machine. So what was the moment that you got into using the looper to do shows?
Well, it was like what year was that? I say I started doing it about 4 years ago. I just been doing the same thing for a while. I usually play solo, or sometimes I have a band. Sometimes it's a duo. Just your classic sort of acoustic thing. But then I'd seen other people using these loopers, and for a while I resisted it, and I was like, I don't know, it's technology. And then I was like, I was always thinking about ways that things I heard on my songs. A lot of it was the harmonies. I wanted to do harmonies, and so I was I don't know what happened. One day I was like, I'm going to try this looper thing. But I just went all out right away. I just went and got the like deluxe looper. And I spent like 3 or 4 months very intensely figuring out how to use it. It was like, 3 or 4 hours a day for several months figuring out how to use this thing. So I'm still figuring out how to use it, but
Okay, which one is it?
oh, this is the RC300 loop station by Boss.
Cool.
Yeah.
I
So
have to make a confession. I bought I wanted to get a Voice Live years ago, and then the 3 came out, the Extreme came out, and I kept going, and then when I came up here, I said, I'm going to do these shows, and I want to make sure that I can do the show no matter who shows up. If bandmates don't show up, I can do the show. So I finally did it, and I've touched on it a little. I used it for a little vocal processing on the early episodes of the show, which turned out to be too much complexity, and I removed it. So it's literally sitting behind me waiting for me to study it. I bought the third-party editor because what I hit with it is you can't sequence songs. You can, but it's a really strange way. You have to take a preset and then go into a song mode into that preset and set up segments that refer to other effect like other presets. So
Yeah.
essentially, you have to take one of the presets that already exists and retroactively turn it into a song, which I found totally baffling. That could I hit a brick wall with it.
Yeah, it's I have a sequencer on my keyboard, and I know there's probably something I can do to even add to my looper experience here, but I can't figure out. I haven't taken the time. I was like, I figured out the looper. I actually had to read the user's manual every day to figure out how to use the thing, and it's not my favorite thing to do. So
Nor
I was,
I hear you there, and that's why the magical beast sits behind me.
yeah.
Okay, this week I'm going to reopen that manual and dig a bit. I feel redeemed that you had to put all that effort into getting
Oh,
up to that level. Because I kept feeling like, well, what am I not getting here, or I should be learning this faster.
yeah. No, it's quite. I mean, it depends on what kind of equipment you're using, but it was quite the learning curve, and especially since I went straight into this deluxe loop station instead of having just one loop pedal that people like to use. Um, there's like presets on here and settings for different tracks so that I can tell it how long to record and whether to fade out or whether to stop suddenly or there's so many different settings. And then besides learning how to use it, figuring out or just getting improving at rhythm so that I can push the button at the right time um, is a huge thing, and it still sometimes falls apart with the timing. But yeah, usually I can fix it on the spot.
Constant growth and opportunity. It's a wonderful thing. I see you picked up the guitar there. Are you you're itching for another performance for us?
Well, I was thinking about what I would want to do next, and yes, I need this, but it's not a lot of guitar. It's just one little one little part in the beginning. But yeah.
Well, before we launch into that, you mentioned that you're doing a show on Sunday as well. Tell us a little bit about that, and then let's do this. Hear the song.
Yeah, I do a live stream called Coffee with Amy. It's at 10 a.m. every first Sunday of the month. So you take every month, the first Sunday that happens, the next one will be the first Sunday of December. I think it's the 6th. Um, I'll be doing my live stream, Coffee with Amy, at 10 a.m. And it's on my Facebook page. Pretty easy to find me if you can just remember my name. It's Amy Obenski. Because I'm the only Amy Obenski. It's easy to find me. But yeah, I have my coffee cup, and everybody who's watching, usually they have their coffees or their teas maybe, and I play some songs and I talk about things, and we wear our PJs. That's an important element.
Uh, I'm I'm
Uh,
I'm there. I'm ready.
I'm dressed up right now. It's like, my friends have watched me do other things online now besides Coffee with Amy, and they're like, "Oh, it's so cool to see you dressed up and not in your PJs." Everyone's got the reason to see me there.
Alexander said, "You're gonna do your show in your PJs?" Because I used to like actually put on jeans, a button-up shirt. I'm like, yeah, they can't see. It's dark.
Yeah, we know you have your PJs on from the waist down.
That's what we can call this retroactively, the PJ era.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Time it's okay to wear your PJs
It's okay to wear your PJs,
all
folks.
day.
All right. So, what's the name of this track?
Oh, this is a song called Rainbow.
Cool. You're watching Sunday Live with Caleb, and our guest this week is Amy Obenski, and here's a track called Rainbow.
One moment. Hold on.
No problem. Amy, if you don't mind, I'll. Oh, you got to switch the headphones. That's what's going on. you're, you're like, I'm not hearing any sound. What's going on?
Not used to having to switch my headphones.
Like I'm about to perform. Do you want me to show the Restless video or? Oh, you got it. She couldn't hear me. All right, I can hear you. And here is Rainbow.
All I find is love. More to find than love. I walk to see the darkness. I walk to see the sun. I journey through the ages, return to fit my glove. I look inside, and all I find is love. I walk to find the devil. I walk to find God. Wrestle with salvation. Tap out to smell the smoke. I look inside, and all I find is love. Now why would I want more to find than love? My love's a rainbow, many colors deep. A drunken fool, an angry beast, a light too bright for eyes, a black too thick to see, current too strong for courage, a slope too steep to ski. I look inside, and all I find is love. side, and all I find is love.
That was breathtaking.
Oh, thank you, Joe.
Sort of like a Twin Peaks answer to chill ambient music. I love it.
I'll have to quote you on that one.
I remember why I booked you. It was because I was watching a performance of yours on maybe one of the festivals, or I'm just trying to remember when, but you had come on and started playing, and I'm like, I want to book that person. I like what she's doing.
Well, that's cool.
So it wasn't through Stefan. It was because I saw a performance of yours a couple weeks ago, or I don't know, it's all a blur now, but now I remember because that track sounded a lot like the track I heard.
It could have been the same one. I don't know. But that's cool. I'm glad that that's how you found me.
Yeah. So you've got a wide range here. You've played guitar, you play keyboard, you sing. You add this looper component.
Mm-hmm.
And from the music I've heard of yours, it can have this more sort of folk singer-songwriter aspect, or like that last track, very much more bluesy, ambient. Mm-hmm. What do you consider, I guess what I'm trying to say is all musicians hate this question. What do you consider your genre?
Yeah, it's difficult for me to I've gone back and forth with different labels because, like you said, there is sometimes I get kind of folky and sometimes I get kind of bluesy or jazzy, and it's like, how do you? People don't when you say folk jazz or folk blues, people don't really know what to think, So I usually say something like, "Oh, singer-songwriter with folk and jazz elements." Something like that. Yeah, but I have had fancier descriptions, which I can't recall at the moment. But.
I'm working with a band here in Seattle that they blend. Oh, geez, it's like funk, disco, rock, hip hop, country. It's all in there, and R&B. And they're like, yeah, we want to be in the charts. I said, well, you got to register with SoundScan. And then I sent them the screenshot of the genres that SoundScan officially identifies. And they're like, what is that? It's something like rock, disco, country, rap, jazz, something like that. And then it's like, we don't really fit any of that. What do we do? Hip hop's not in there. I think I finally picked R&B and just, let it ride. But
yeah, it can be tricky. I mean, listening to people's albums too, famous artists, you'll hear like all these different styles, and yet it's still like alternative or something. But they just played like 5 different styles in one album. I don't know.
I remember, because my early albums, like vinyl records I got, was through a library. Public library had a big collection of vinyl records, and it was just really, it was like classical, whatever that meant, and then it was rock, and then maybe there was a country section, and that was it. So what I would get out of there, I say, oh, that album cover looks great. Let's throw it in the, in the pile. And the music was actually all over the place. And then alternative meant weird. Like if you were anyway commercial, no matter what genre, it was rock. And if you were like the Residents doing something really quirky and artsy, then it was alternative. So that's kind of set those words in my mind. And then years later, when I was hearing something I thought was kind of folk rock, and someone said, oh, that's alternative. I was like, how that sounds so mainstream. How can that be called alternative? So sometimes you like, once you even find a label, the label just moves off the music you know it to describe into a different genre of music.
Yeah.
I love how the last track, it defies description because it defies conformity.
Mm. Well, thanks. So maybe you can help me come up with a
A pitch. One of my bands.
5 words.
Sultry edge.
What's that?
Sultry edge.
Sultry edge. Okay.
Ooh, yeah.
That one. That works. I've been doing this, like I said, for 17 years, and I still am like figuring out the best way to describe it. I think I said ethereal down-tempo folk rock for a while. I don't know.
One of my bands in the 2000s, I don't know, probably Pixie came up with it, but we riffed on things and we came up with electronic rock with a spanking good beat. So that's what that band got its moniker. You could have ethereal, what did you say? Ethereal rock or down tempo?
My ethereal down-tempo folk rock.
On Sundays in pajamas.
People would be like, I should check that out. You should really just use something that gets people to go like, huh, I should listen to that, It doesn't
That's
even
true.
have to be
It's like these genres, maybe for SoundScan or different legal reasons, have their genre. But really, the point is to give people an idea of what they're buying into and to hook on to go and listen.
Mhm.
Well, here's I think it's an earlier piece. I'm going to play the video for Restless. How long ago was this video shot?
I think this was 2013. It was actually shot in France, most of it.
I noticed the location.
In France, yeah.
Okay, so here is Restless.
People saying all these things about me, this and that of how they think I'd be. Rolling over theories so convincing. Greedy, selfish, thoughtless little thief. But the truth is that my soul is feeling restless. Restless for the things that I could be. Looking for the answer in a wish list. Anywhere but right in front of me. Do do do. Do do do. Do do do. Do 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 do. People thinking, talking about my business. None of that should really bother me. Friends, they come and go, that is forgiveness. The ones who matter most will never leave. But the truth is that my soul is feeling restless. Restless for the things that I could be. Looking for the answer in a wish list. Anywhere but right in front of me. I got my head in the clouds, but my feet on the ground. And I'm flying, flying, flying toward home. Do do do. Do do do. Do do do. Do 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 do. Do do do. Do do do. Do do do. choices that I've made with honesty. I'm growing, I'm changing, I'm loving and I'm lazing. My future's changing too, to follow me. But the truth is that my soul is feeling restless. Restless for the things that I could be. Looking for the answer in a wish list. Anywhere but right in front of me. I got my head in the clouds, but my feet on the ground. And I'm flying, flying, flying toward home. Yeah, I'm flying, flying, flying toward home. Yeah, I'm flying, flying, flying toward home. Do, do, do. Do, do, do. Do, do, do. Do, 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 do.
That was Restless. It strikes me that even though this is pre-looper, I'm now hearing it because I've heard you perform through looping. I've now heard that whole song as looping. And how you stacked it and how you layered it and how you chop up and how you did the a cappella ending.
Yeah, I mean, it could. I actually have done that one with the looper now. I avoided it for a long time, but I mean, obviously in that one it's a band, but when I performed it on my live stream, and I was like, well, how am I going to do this? Because I usually have the audience do the other do part, and it's kind of this nice call and response moment. But when I'm by myself, how am I going to do this? And so I used the looper, and I was skeptical at first, but it ended up working out. It actually sounded cool. You know, I added harmonies and told everybody at home to do it, even though I couldn't hear them. So it has been done. Yeah.
Cool. And you shot that in France, the music video. I see in Bastille every now and then. Where in France was that?
This was in Nantes.
Okay.
It's, Nantes. People sometimes call it Nantes. But yeah, it's Nantes. And it's actually a pretty big city. It's yeah, I ended up actually spending a good amount of time there. There's a long story about it, but I ended up going back to France 3 times to play with the same guys. And the third time I was there I was in France for 3 months, in Europe for 4 months, and we recorded an album, and we did this music video, and we did an artist in residence together that was like a month long. It was really, really a cool experience.
Yeah, I like France. A buddy of mine who I met in the 90s is from Paris and has a place there in Paris. So when I get to Europe, I'm able to crash out and take over one of the rooms in his apartment in Paris and in the Bastille area. So I feel like it's a place that I've been to, but I've never been to as a tourist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been to like certain places in France now as a tourist. Because I was there so long, I traveled, you know. Yeah, it's weird. I stayed in Nantes, but I would like be a tourist in Paris or in Marseille. I was a tourist, and you know, just random places. I went all over the place. But.
And with business travel, I guess in Ireland, I was there on business and tourist. So I didn't get to have that down home feel. Although, don't want to throw in today's show because it's a total sidetrack, but someday I'll have to tell you this story because I decided to stay in an old hotel versus the fancy hotel, which turned out to be a bad idea from a comfort standpoint. But from an experience standpoint, at the hotel bar, I got the locals vibe, and save that story for
Sounds like it
episode
made for a
2.
better story, though.
Huh?
It made for a better story, though, I'm guessing, than staying.
It's
You know?
yes, exactly. Yeah, I got a little feeling of local. I got into conversation with local people at the bar versus at the fancy hotel where everybody there was on business trip. So I did get a little bit of locals experience in Ireland. England was a locals experience. Yeah, I guess I haven't done the tourist thing too much. I know that on one second or third time in Paris, a friend of mine had come up from Barcelona and said, "You've not done these things? You've not been to the Louvre? You've not been up the Eiffel Tower?" I said, "No, but I know the Rebar, and I know, so-and-so at such and such place, because through Eric, I know all, his local restaurants and his restaurateurs and his local, unmarked bars and whatnot." So I actually was forced for one day to do tourist stuff in Paris and went to the Louvre. It is massive. And actually went up the Eiffel Tower and had a vertigo attack halfway
Wow.
up. That was weird. So I did get a little bit of that. But most of the time when I'm traveling, I just like hanging out with friends and whatnot.
Mhm. Yeah, I like to just walk around the city. I
Yeah.
walked pretty much all of Dublin. I walked the entire place. So,
Me too. I was out by the hotel I was staying in was by the sort of ring canal. And it was some ways to walk, maybe 45 minutes. But I just walked from there into straight downtown Dublin and hung out there. And then we just walked back. And it happened to be in the summer and it was warm that weekend. I think about 4 days I was in Dublin before I went down to Cork. You meet people that way. And I would go to karaoke bars, and when you sit down at karaoke bars, like everybody's nervous about singing or this, and you can strike up conversations and make quick friends and have that connection. I think that's a much more cool way to travel than sort of on the bus being dragged around to this site. Someone says this site's important. Someone says this site's important.
I've actually never done that.
It just doesn't appeal to me at all. So it's that time of the show in which I do a little segment called Mystic Moment, and then we'll be right back with Amy. Hey, everybody. This week's Mystic Moment is you have options. So when I first got involved in music, I was hitting walls left and right. I hid in a choir, as people know. I did tape cut-ups because I didn't think I could actually produce a song. So I'd create these art collages, and it wasn't really what I was into, but it seemed to be that's all I was capable of. And, I couldn't play guitar. I played piano poorly, and I didn't have a way of layering tracks, and I really, frankly, didn't have the budget to get a multi-track recorder at the time. And then I just happened to see a recording class at university. It was this little small hole in the wall with like old donated equipment. But for me, it was gold. It took me to the next level in what I could do. I could record a bass line. I could record some keyboard and layer things, much like Amy's doing with the Looper Live. And suddenly I could create songs. And the technology got better. And as I got access to more technology, I could keep widening that door. And suddenly I was writing songs, which I never thought I was ever going to get to do. So if you think that you have a limitation in your life or something you want to do and you just don't know how to get there, there very well may be some technology, some tool that you don't even realize you have access to that will allow you to get from where you are today to your dream. That's this week's Mystic Moment. Remember, you have options. I want to thank you for tuning in this Sunday. You are watching Sunday Live with Caleb. This week, our guest is Amy Obenski. Do check her out on YouTube. She's got the music videos I'm showing you today are up on her channel on YouTube. And I know she has albums out there. And once a month on the first Sunday of the month at 10 o'clock Pacific time, you can have coffee with Amy jamming in her PJs. So that wraps up the main part of our show. We're going to move into After Party. You're watching the After Party on Sunday Live. So, Amy, I like to describe After Party as where we loosen up and, you know, songs don't have to be 3 minutes long anymore. And we can be more artsy. Now you can bring out the rubber chicken thing that you were talking about, right?
We totally talked about that.
Sorry, I stalked you on Facebook and I found out about the rubber chicken. No, so we were talking when setting up the show that a lot of your pieces are longer pieces. And do you find that that's always been the case with your music? Like you're a longer form artist, or does looping lend to that?
I definitely have always kind of written longer songs, like 5 minutes around that. And but then using the looper, it definitely has extended songs quite a bit. And I've actually over time learned how to keep that from happening and have been able to whittle them down so I don't take as long to make loops and stuff like that. Because they used to be longer, but I've been figuring out how to like kind of get the loops going quicker so I can start the song and people aren't, sitting there waiting as long.
Well, it sounds like in some of the live environments you described, you're providing atmosphere. So going for 10 minutes, and layering it and bringing that entertainment value seems like perfectly natural. And then I asked you to be on the show, and I'm like, here's the sequence. Please provide 3 3-minute tracks. And it's tough. If I love a lot of progressive rock bands, where songs are 20 minutes long and 7 minutes is, no brainer. So how do you manage that with an audience, or do you have to manage that? Do you, like, sometimes with some of my pieces for the single, I'll do a single edit because I know that's more likely to get played in more places than maybe the 5-minute version. The 3-minute thing is tricky because for me, like a song, that's how long it is what it is. Right? I don't pick the length of the song, but I do feel that pressure as a performer, say live on stage, or certainly doing a show like this, that if you go on too long, that you're going to lose people because people there's a reason why 3-minute songs exist, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there was when it comes to like performing live, I don't, like I said, I've worked on getting to the point faster with the looping to start singing the song the sooner you can, and you have whatever tracks you need laid out for the looping. The sooner you can get that down and start the song, the better, I think. Although people have told me that they really enjoy watching all the different pieces. So sometimes I do that. Now I do that so fast they don't get to watch all the pieces. It's a little hard to see so fast what's happening. I've actually practiced to get the things like play this part, now the bass line, now the harmony, now sing, and press the button at the right time. Like it takes a lot of practice to get all that working so that people aren't sitting around waiting. But you
That's-
know, I mean, sometimes they do end up sitting around. But sometimes it's better if they sit around and you make it not constantly like doing something new. Um, so, like the last song I did live here, I cut out kind of like a couple instrumental moments. So I just went straight into the singing to shorten it for this show. So it seemed like it went over okay. You guys liked it, so
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Kara Waltz says, hi, Amy, and hi, Dr. K.
hi, Kara.
You know Kara?
Yeah, it's weird. We have this. She's a mutual friend. I saw,
Yeah.
and I don't know how, but yeah, I've known her for quite a long time.
That is a cool connection. So, yeah, the adventures are Marin adventures of Kara and Eric and me and Jen and a whole cast of characters. We all met at a wine bar that was in the apartment complex I was living in. And that became quite the scene for a couple years. And Kara started doing chiropractic on me when I had a shoulder freeze up. And yeah. And we've got some years now. And I miss her because my other shoulder is giving me some trouble. And I know that she could fix it like that. And nobody else I've met has that same skill. I'm just messaging her back here.
Yeah, she's good at what she does.
So we are in after party. So we talked about longer songs. I know you wanted to do a longer song. And I want to give artists the opportunity not to feel like they're constrained in the show or, after the first part. And again, after parties where we loosen up, we can get more artsy. What do you have for us here?
All right. This one is a song called "Fly" that was actually co-written by me and the guys in the band from France. So it was quite a while ago. But then I started using the looper with it, and it became like a whole other animal. So it's pretty fun, and it does get a little bit lengthy, but the end is really cool. So,
Having actually sat and heard your songs today going through this and heard the music videos more, I will have to say your songs, even if they're, say, like a 4-minute track, it feels like a 3-minute track. You just have such catchy phrasing and hooks in there that you're going along and you really don't notice.
awesome. So that's great. Good feedback. Thank you. Okay, so let me switch
Time for the headphone switch, folks. So Amy's switching headphones to the live performance headphones. I'd like to give another shout out to Kara. Thank you for tuning in. Sharon, a regular, thank you for tuning in. I saw Jai join at some point. You're going to have to give me a ring sometime. I want to find out what's going on in your life. We haven't chatted in a little while. Missy is in there. Norma. Hello, Norma. Norma has been fairly regular and watching the show. And I think we're ready to go.
How can I help it? It's gonna bleed. How can I help what's inside of me? If you wanna change it, then you better leave. How can I help what's inside of me? Fly, fly, fly. You need no reason why.
change what's eternity. If you can't face it, then try a new key. There's no denying eternity. Fly, fly, fly. You need no reason why. Facing your demons, you'd better win. They're stealing your future, they're holding you in. They're keeping you captive, you're trapped in your skin. You'd better face those demons within. 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 You'd better face those demons within.
Wow, that was cool. Uh, that was. I love the time signatures. Dave Brubeck meets Rush. Love it. Also like the despite the layering and the dubbing of some of the music, the very analog organic sounds of the guitar strings on top of everything else. It just adds to the authenticity of it. It sounds very real and very great.
Thank you, Joe. It's great. It's good feedback. I have since I started doing the looper, I have started to do a little bit more with the keyboard at times, even though it's been outside my comfort zone. I originally was like a singer and a classical pianist, and then acoustic guitar. So, starting to use technology and sounds on the keyboard if I want, you know, it's been a long time, like me getting used to doing that. But sometimes I just end up with like a piano sound and acoustic guitar still, and you like it, so that's great.
Yeah, I don't think you have to worry about sounding like 80s. You're safe there.
80s. I have there's a song I'm not supposed to do that I can't. I usually do with that 80s keyboard.
Well, it's just one of those things. Who knows right now in the world of copyright? It's such a crazy mess out there, and companies are just trying to figure out. I was saying to Amy that we received this very lengthy. It was an apology letter, really, what it was from Twitch. Where they're like, "We're so sorry, all your videos have been destroyed." And now it wasn't directed at me; it was directed at everybody who uses Twitch. And Twitch basically said, "We received all these legal orders and threats, and we chose to delete these videos of people that that were under threat." And they said, "We could have handled this better. Sorry, we deleted your work. We are not going to do that anymore. We'll do this other procedure. Sorry, we did it in 3 days, and we should have given you more time. Blah 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 blah. And we don't really have the." Anyway, it went on. It was quite long. And then later that day, I was attending a Balanced Breakfast event, and Mark Pearson, who's the attorney in Balanced Breakfast in San Francisco, was talking about the MLC MLC, which will be the Mechanical License Corporation, that will come online in January because there's now laws that have been passed that says mechanical royalties need to be collected on Spotify and Apple Music and paid to the songwriters and the musicians and the recordings, et cetera, et cetera. It's the idea of getting artists more revenue from their work. And the big gap had been streaming services and how those were being paid. And he mentioned Prince. I'll say the word. And he's like, "Yeah, I wouldn't touch any Prince songs right now." I'm like, "Okay." And then Amy was like, "I'd like to do a cover." I said, "Oh yeah, you can do all the covers you want. Just don't do Prince." And you're like, "Dude, that was the one
I was gonna
the
do.
one." I'm like, out of all the artists I could have told you not to do.
I had like a John Prine song I could do. There's like a Tom Petty, but that was the one I wanted to do. But I was like, "Yeah, that's cool. I don't need to do it." But it was pretty fun.
And for folks watching this, we can stream this out to you. We're not censored by Facebook, but Facebook cannot replay the video. It'll post to my timeline. I try to hide it, but Facebook makes it difficult for you to hide and remove stuff. So it's out there, and they don't have a method to pay for tracks. So any music that you've released, Amy, it'll detect it and it'll just delete the audio out of the restream. YouTube has the back-end capability to pay you your royalties for any songs that you played today's episode that's been released. So you'll just be marked for that. And if there are any commercials in, this show, someone watching this episode, then you'll be paid those royalties. Twitch just simply has nothing in place from what I got from that letter. And they're just kind of like, oh, man. So that's where we are, folks. If you're wondering what the world looks like from the artist view, I think from the consumer view, it's like the land of milk and honey, because you can get music anywhere at any time. And unlike when Joe and I were growing up, when you went to stores, you have to listen to these terrible Muzak versions of songs. Now you go in the store and you hear like what was considered like a really kind of edgy track, maybe in the 80s or 90s. You just hear it's like background music at Target. So I think from a listener standpoint, it's the best time ever. From an artist standpoint, it's still a very good time if you're an independent artist, because the opportunities in different venues for getting your music out and for producing your music at far less expensive costs is incredible. And the fact that you have a global reach. I did a song once in the morning, released it that afternoon, and it was on iTunes that evening, and someone bought it in like, Eastern Europe. And that was all in like 24 hours. Now that's not happening anymore. It's taking longer to get releases out, but they're certainly like Bandcamp is instant, right? You can put track up on Bandcamp, and then if someone knows where to go to find you on Bandcamp. So I think it's still a great time, because I meet a lot of people up here in Seattle when I first moved up here that were like kind of really despondent about the state of the music industry. And I'm like, no. These are great times. These are great times. Yes, it's tricky. Streaming is taking over. Yes, they pay you 0.00000 per stream. That's a whole nother topic of how much you get per stream. But, slowly but surely, the legal framework is catching up with the technology in a way that artists can get paid. And if you know how it works and that works for you, you can leverage it today, is my big pitch.
Yeah, the coolest thing I think about it, I mean, there are hurdles like, making money through streaming, Spotify and stuff like that. It's just not happening. But anybody can get their music out into the world now with the internet. You don't have to go through a label. You don't have to have any of those things. Whereas before you kind of had to have a label, and you had to just get discovered, wait for that moment, I guess. And just be sort of at the whim of that. Whereas now you don't have to wait for that moment. You can just start making music, and you can perform places, and you can, record and put your music out, and people will listen. And it's, that part's really cool.
And I will always argue that it's about the song. And yeah, back in the day, I'm waiting to be discovered. And then you got discovered, and what happened? You got signed to, say, a 5-year contract with 5 albums that cost you anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000. And guess what? Yes, the label fronted you the money, but they loaned it to you like a bank. And then you had to pay the bank back. Mm-hmm. And before you got any dime.
Yeah.
And
actually made most of the money.
So, I tell everybody, during the gold rush, who made money? The people who sold picks and shovels. So, be aware that it's that middleman that, that made the money during the label era. Yes, a few artists hit big, got big, and they were given, how those contracts worked in many ways was like going to a bank, they loan you $100,000. You still have to pay them back. But if you make $500,000 off the album, great, you've paid them back. Well, with a label, though, you were only paid like anywhere from 5 to 20% of everything after their costs. So their marketing costs, their administrative costs, the cost of, the whiskey decanter in the CEO's office, all that was taken out before what was left, you got a percentage of to pay them back and maybe someday make a profit. And just so many bands that I love, I've watched interviews where like, yeah, it's been 30 years. We just paid off that album.
Wow.
The Human League. I'm a big fan of the Human League and Phil Oakley. And yeah, I think it was in the 2000s. I was watching an interview and it feels like, yeah, we just paid off Dare. It was a good day. And then you say, okay, what were all the singles they put out? What were the albums they put out? And what do fans remember? I went to see them live in San Francisco, and I was at a dinner party. And it was a friend of mine's friend's dinner party, and they're like, "Why do you have to leave? We're having a good time." And he would look to me, and he goes, "Oh, we're going to go see the Human League," and the whole table was like blank. And then he'd look to me, and I'd look to him, and we'd start the famous refrain from the chorus of their most famous song, which is "Don't We Want Me Baby." We didn't sing the words. We actually just sung the tune, and everybody went, "Oh, that band, great, have a good time." So if you can create that, whether you create that under a record label with massive debt to get there, or you create it tomorrow on your own, that is what's going to grab people. And if you're not in debt to get there, it's a better path. I'm kind of preachy tonight.
Oh,
Now we
you're
have these
being
fundraising
streetwise.
platforms too. Sorry, Joe.
Oh, you're being streetwise. Just like with the recording artists today, such as you, Amy, just the post production being a one-woman band, a one-woman studio. Now you got to be a one-woman distribution agency, and figuring out all that money that has to be loaned to you, you got to pay it back, and where does that money go for expenses? If you can take care of those expenses through resource, and then that's a debt that's eliminated. If you take care of the distribution and whatnot, that's a whole lot of money you save. You got to it's another layer of productivity and another layer of business sense, and it's another wheelbarrow to lug around. But if you can accomplish that, you can save yourself a lot of trouble in the long run. Somehow, Depeche Mode and Erykah Badu come to light as examples. They're being, on top of everything else, shrewd, streetwise business people. And that's the one caveat. That's the one thing you have to do, the one necessity. But if you can handle that, then the sky's the limit.
It's true. That is one of the limitations is, there are many artists, talented musicians out there who have they're just no interest or ability in the business world. And dealing with the internet or, even recording, any of that stuff is just like, they just don't want to deal with any of it. And I completely understand that, they're great, talented musician who just doesn't want to do that other stuff. And they, unfortunately, they're not getting very heard because nobody's there to kind of help them with all the technology and the business stuff. So
I give with Balanced Breakfast a little lecture on music and revenue streams, and that's when I first came to Seattle. I did a local venue here where I presented from about 60 or 70 musicians who showed up, and I just had a big pie chart projected on the wall behind me. I'm like, really? That's my entire lecture is this pie chart? Because you all came here because you want to find out how to make money in the music business. This pie chart shows where all revenue comes in the music industry. And guess what? 25% of it is teaching other people how to play instruments. So if you can play an instrument really well, you want to make money in music, all right, there. You just increase. If you're not teaching people how to play, right there. You walk out of here today. Now you can start making more money. And then the next piece here, playing live. Okay, I'm a studio musician mainly, and I play live occasionally. That's not to my advantage because, the other half of the some people, I've heard people argue that 80% of the industry before COVID was playing live, but on this chart, it was about a quarter teaching, little over a quarter playing live, and then everything else came after that. And like the songwriting bit was about that big, and then the releasing music was about that big. So I said, if you're at home recording, releasing music, yes, you might make money, but your probability goes way down when you have a larger population recording and releasing today than ever. It's become inverted, right? You used to have more people performing live than recording because recording was so expensive. Now that it's so cheap to do something and put it out, there's so much volume of music out there. You're now competing in a much bigger pond and of a smaller slice of the pie. So it just really stacks odds against revenue through that path. And yet I have met artists who have done that because, like you guys are saying about the business side, you have to decide, is this a hobby or is it business? And if it's business, business means making money. And businesses make money by doing things that make money. You don't start a business of yak clogs because you think yaks would really appreciate your clogs, but but if there's no market for yak clogs, well, you're not in business. It's just an interesting hobby you're doing. So you have to decide, that you want to be in that. I found a lot of people that what they want is they don't want to be in the music business. They want to be in the sugar daddy business. And that's fine. If you can find a sugar daddy to pay for the development of your music and the release of stuff, that is completely valid. Artists throughout history have had patrons and sponsors. And if being a patron artist is a viable path versus trying to, get a bazillion plays on Spotify so that you can generate revenue that way. So more opportunities than ever. Do you use Patreon?
Me?
Excuse me?
I was asking Amy if she uses Patreon. I set mine up and I've never really used it. So.
Don't go to my Patreon right now. It's like a ghost town at the moment. I did use it to release my last album, which was like a few years ago. And I did at one time have a bunch of people on there, but I found that I was creating content or posting things for the people who were my patrons, but nobody was looking at it. And so, the Patreon actually tells you who viewed it and who looked at your content and stuff, and it would be like nobody, even though I had a bunch of patrons on there. And so I eventually stopped using it. Like I was using it less and less, especially since after my album release, like 6 months later, some people dropped off. So anyway, it's funny that you mentioned Patreon because I was just like, I had a thought where I was like, I should close my Patreon account so it's not up there with I don't know, 5 people, 5 patrons or something. Anyway, it's kind of a ghost town on my Patreon page.
I had an interesting thing happen during an earlier show where someone said in the text, they said, "What's your Patreon account so I can donate to you?" And I was like, I haven't set up the tiers, blah, 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 blah. And then I realized in 2 years, that's the first and only person that has asked me that question. And I was like, just if you're going to give me $5, just go over to my Bandcamp and hit a random album. Even if you've never listened to it, hit a random album and just give me $5 that way.
I collect, for my live streams, I collect donations through Venmo, PayPal, and then I have my own online store. So it's through Square, and you can also send me money over Square. So it's through my website. So
and
that's
what's your
pretty much
website?
how everybody donates. What's my website? It's amyobenski.com.
And that's AMYOBENSKI.
That's it.
.com. So folks, if you like what you're hearing with Amy today, go up there and, hit Hit the tip jar. I think most artists that I've met, that's the path this last year everybody's taking, is just simply having their PayPal, Venmo, having an account on all these different payment platforms and just posting up there. And everybody prefers a different platform. Make it all available to them so that if they want to donate to you, they can.
Right. Yeah, you got to make it easy.
Yes. Yes.
It might be a little more complicated for you, but it's, part of the business, right?
Yeah. That's another lecture I've given some folks. It's like, stop making it difficult for a fan to support you. If they have to go to this website and then over there, it's not going to happen.
People have started to use these things for live shows too, like the two outdoor gigs I did recently. I had my Venmo and PayPal there, and somebody sent me $50 on Venmo, and I was like, wow.
Cool.
So yeah, I think people are a little bit more generous with their digital money, I think. Sometimes it's just a number on my phone, and so but anyway, it's changing. You don't just get tips and donations in cash anymore. Definitely different.
I hadn't even thought about the COVID aspect of that. I was thinking like, oh, we're all kind of caged up, so we're doing the Venmo because we're doing online shows. But even with live shows, if people are touching less, they're touching paper bills less, and digital money has become much, much more common. That, paper money just in many ways has been pushed out even further by all this. Because like, oh, I'm going to touch this bill, put it in your jar. You're going to touch it. I don't know where that that bill came from.
Yeah, I had hand sanitizer on my little table, but people still give paper money, but
Okay.
but it's definitely becoming more and more common to, even in person, to do Venmo and PayPal.
You get a tip jar from a live event and it's filled with a whole bunch of dollar bills, but everyone's touched it. You got to take that home with a spray bottle filled with alcohol that lends a new meaning to laundering money.
Yeah. I mean, I pretty much, the first time I did it, I took it home and then I just let it sit in a jar for about 2 weeks before I touched it. I was like, I just, I don't need this money right away. I'm just going to let it, like, all the COVID die from it before I touch it. The second time I was like a little bit more brave. I just took it out. Actually found $100 bill in there. So somebody gave me a $100 bill. Which is exciting. But yeah, and so that was a nice surprise. But yeah, the second time I was more brave and I just put the money away and then immediately washed my hands very thoroughly, and I think as long as you're mindful about touching your face or whatever.
Let's put our finger in the jar and then touch our face.
Yeah.
I used to love rolling him over. I used to love coming home and rolling around on all that tip jar money on the bed, but not anymore.
All that tip jar money, yeah.
I did a fair amount of karaoke DJing, and the tip jar was an interesting thing at the end of the night.
Never know what you're going to find in there.
Never know. And it's the one person who walks in, has a glass of wine, comes up, does like one standard tune, very nice, understated person, and leaves. And you realize they're the one that put the big bill in there. And the person that harassed you, got drunk in your face, and all this stuff, they're the 50 cents change.
The person who dropped change.
Yeah. You're like, I'll remember that next time, buddy. In the chat here, Tyrone Stanford asked, what Prince song did you want to cover, Amy?
Oh, I was going to play When Doves Cry. Yeah.
There you go, Tyrone. Good to see you on here. I'm seeing a couple of folks, speaking of karaoke, from the karaoke world that I once was a part of, Tyrone and Jai, and it looks like it's Jai's birthday, so shout out to Jai. Happy birthday. I expect a phone call. Let me know what you're up to down in LA. We haven't chatted in a while. Amy, would you like to do a last song for us here tonight?
Sure. I wasn't sure if I was.
You know, really, we're just doing this. We're just having a good time, so we get to choose.
That
Joe,
sounds-
you want a final word before? Final word. I'm losing my voice tonight. A final word for Amy before we do our last song, call tonight a wrap.
Oh, I was gonna request When Doves Cry.
Oh,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We'll get raided by the cops.
yeah, exactly. You'll have to come watch me on my live stream first Sundays of the month, and you might see it at some point. And Facebook is a little more generous and reasonable. So, okay, I'll do this. It's another one of my songs. I'm staying away from the covers today, but this one's
You
called.
gotta- Did you do
Circle.
your headphone swap?
Yeah, I'm going to.
Okay.
I want to
That's
make
a good roadie around when you need one.
last minute.
Amy's swapping out her headphones for live performance. Up.
Heaven, I said heaven. You're living on the surface, but I said heaven. Deeper, I said deeper. Look down, and you can find a level deeper. There's no satisfaction in a living if you don't lend yourself to giving. You're living in a bottle, you're standing on the shore. Try and tell yourself you just don't want nothing no more. You're reaching, looking for light, but all you find is darkness. And you go on, I must go on, living in circles, living in circles. You got to feel your way, you got to feel your way. You got to feel your way, you got to feel your way. You got to feel your way, you got to feel your way. You got to feel your way, you got to feel your way. You got to feel your way, you got to feel your way. You got to feel your way, you got to feel your way. Heaven, I say heaven. You're living on the surface, but I say heaven.
higher. I said higher. Look up and you can find your desire. I follow my passion and it leads me to the wings of the arms that embrace me. You're running in circles, but aching for more. Try and turn the knob of an imaginary door. Living in circles, living in circles, living in circles, living in circles.
Right on. That was good. That was good.
You brought in the funk.
Yeah,
I-
little
I-
reggae influence there. It's like reggae soul. I'm not really sure.
now, I don't want to make an assumption here, but was there a a rhythmic error in one of the loops, or was that intentional?
Hmm.
Like I thought, oh, that's a real cool funky bit there, and then I thought, well, is it a funky bit or is it art? Is it an error? And have you during a performance like totally gone like oops, but kept it because it was cool?
Well, usually it's like oops, but then I have no way of going back. So cool.
It becomes a new move.
What's that?
It becomes a new move, a partner dancing, like a swing dancing.
Yeah.
You mess up, where you mess up, that becomes a new move. And you just created a new move there.
Yeah, sometimes. I think I have actually, figured out some new things because I messed stuff up. But yeah, I'm not sure that, there's the rhythm part that went through the whole thing. That was intentional. There's this part that was all intentional. I think maybe I think I know what you're thinking about. It's I change keys in the middle of the song, and the middle section is in a different key, and then I kind of make this switch to the other key back to the original.
Okay,
A little bit of a little bit of a like a change over there, where it might seem a little bit odd, but that was intentional.
cool. This just popped into my head, so I will share it with you guys. Robert Palmer has a track called "Woke Up Laughing," which is in my top 10 favorite songs ever, and it uses it's a Caribbean beat that uses 3/4 against 4/4. So Joe, amongst his many talents, is a infamous swing dancer. So yeah, playing with polyrhythms and whatnot. It's amazing that I kind of grew up on, Beatles and more traditional rock stuff. So in country where you just didn't get that. And I heard Woke Up Laughing for the first time. I said, I don't even know what I'm listening to. I'm like, what is that? How is that happen? And I was like listening, I'm like, and then I looked it up online. It's like, oh yeah, they run a beat of 3/4 on part of the rhythm section, and the other section's 4/4. So it's constantly going out of sync. And working in the recording studio in the days of tape sync, things going out of sync was bad, right? You were working so hard to keep things in sync. To find that there was a whole genre of music that was designed to go out of sync was mind blowing, and that's kind of where it kind of broke my idea of what should be or had to be.
Yeah, the rules are different now.
And that, well, I think that song was done in '79, and he lived in the Caribbean. Apparently, this had been in the Caribbean for a long time. But you get a lot more of that out of West Africa, right? A lot more polyrhythmic pieces or more complex rhythmic pieces.
Yeah.
And then one more song pitched to put out to the folks who want to stretch their minds. My favorite, one of the other top 10 favorite songs of mine is Dance on a Volcano by Genesis. And that uses a lot of 7/8 and whatnot. If you've not heard of those tracks, go check them out, folks. But I think you would really like Woke Up Laughing. And I'll send you a link to it because there's two different versions. Well, I think we're wrapping up, and it occurs to me, Amy, that we still had more material to cover. I had another music video, some more live performance spots. So if you enjoyed yourself this evening, hanging out with Joe and I would like to, in 2021, have you back on the show. What say you?
That sounds fun. Yeah, let's do it.
Yes. All right, Joe.
We'd love to have you. Yes.
And Joe, you only got one witticism, one joke in there. I think we're due for one more before we wrap up tonight.
Well, I can only quote regarding that little glitch. The time signatures are a great and wonderful thing, and turning something like a John Philip Sousa type rhythm into something that's creative through flaws and what people perceive as a mistake, it becomes, like I say, a new move. Edith Piaf said it best: use your faults, your defects, then you will become a star. That only highlights not only any human errors that can be taken in and heralded, but even the things like analog music, something that has a very imperfect sound because it's analog. However much you layer it, however much you loop it, if it's a nice analog sound, if it's a little bit imperfect, it has that human touch to it. Imperfection is perfection.
And with that, folks, we wrap up another episode of Sunday Live with my illustrious sidekick, Joe Price, and guest this week, Amy Obenski.
Thank you so much for having me. It was fun.
I realized what my I realized what my challenge with your name is. My brain is saying Obenski.
Huh.
Like I'm going to open the ski slope. Anyhow, I can ramble. I thank you again, Amy. Awesome hearing your stuff. Love it. And we'll talk online. Ciao.
Good night, one and all.
Hey, folks, thank you for joining us for Sunday Live, another episode. And we will be doing these definitely through December. I have every weekend booked up. Make sure you start tuning in at 5 o'clock because we usually do an introduction on the artist. And that can set context for later stuff in the show and whatnot. So love to have you early on. If you can't make it early, we'll just keep rambling on so you can join. All right, stay safe out there, folks. Ciao. If you'd like to find out more about my music, you can find me at Caleb Duart with an E at the end on Facebook, or my Bandcamp pages, caleb.bandcamp.com, audioterrorist.bandcamp.com, cuirbleu.bandcamp.com. Also, we have YouTube channels for Caleb Official, Audio Terrorist, and The Queer Blue. Check out our music videos, and thank you for watching.